Are you looking for a new whiskey adventure? Then climb in and buckle up. Get ready for one hell of a ride on the Whiskey Trip podcast with your host, Big Chief. Join in as he and his guests explore whiskey and dive into whiskey stories from around the world. Now here's your host, Big Chief.
Folks, you know, here on the Whiskey Trip, we celebrate more than just the pour in our glass. We celebrate heritage, tradition, and the stories that make this country what it is. That's why I'm proud to tell you about our friends at the Heritage Flag Company. These aren't just flags, they're handcrafted works of art built from whiskey and bourbon barrels that once held the spirit we all love. Every cut, every nail, every burn mark tells a story of patience and craftsmanship. Just like the whiskey we sip, these flags are bold, timeless, and full of character. Whether you hang one in your home bar, your man cave, or gift it to a veteran or first responder, a heritage flag isn't just decor. It's a statement. It says you believe in freedom, tradition, and the legacy we pass down. So saddle up, whiskey family, and head over to theheritageflag.com. Use code WhiskeyTrip10 at checkout for 10% off your order. Let them know Big Chief sent you. Because just like your favorite pour, the Heritage Flag Company is made to be shared, honored, and remembered. Now let's get on to the show. Hey, it's old Big Chief, and yeah, you're taking another ride on a whiskey trip, baby. And as you can see, I'm at Acre Distillery here in Fort Worth, Texas. Yes, indeed. It's about a 6-hour drive up here this morning. I had a co-pilot with me this morning, Kevin Hemingway from the Hemingway brothers. We're not in the hideout. We are in the distillery, and I got Mr. Tony Formby, one of the owners here. Tony, welcome to the Whiskey Trip, my friend.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Yeah, so we're going to drink a little whiskey. We're going to talk about Hell's Half Acre. That's where we're at. Folks, you're looking behind me. That's the Wild Bunch right there, and we're going to get into that later on. But the Wild Bunch, while you're doing this, while you're listening, while you're watching, maybe do a little research and then figure out who the Wild Bunch is before we do talk about them. But you poured some whiskeys in my glass. What's this first whiskey right here?
First whiskey is Longhaired Jim, and that's our main brand here. It's our flagship. It's all Texas grain. This one here is a little bit over 3 years old, 88 proof, a combination of white, 75% white yellow corn from Sunray, Texas. All our whiskeys are made from Texas grains. 21% red rye, malted red rye, and 4% barley. Aged in charred white oak, brand new barrels. Char level is 3. We're pretty much in the middle.
And where's all your barrels are from the barrel mill?
Yeah, we bought from different sources, but in the last 5 years we've been pretty much the barrel mill. They're up in Minnesota. And we've had, we think, pretty good luck with them. It was a little bit of a worry during COVID because the barrel prices doubled, and we weren't sure whether the barrel makers were all curing the wood properly. You know, they've got to cut the trees, boards, and then let them cure for ideally a couple of years. And we were getting like maybe it's 6 months, a year, and going, well. So the barrel mill, we trust those guys, and they've done a good job for us.
Awesome. I love it. What a great distillery in really downtown Fort Worth, Texas. A place that is iconic to me as a kid. You know, we would drive up from the hill country, and you'd get out of the hill country a little bit, and you'd get into the kind of the plains of Texas and come up to Fort Worth on Highway 281. We called it the Milk Road. There's a lot of dairies along that road from Fort Worth all the way to San Antonio, going down to Johnson City, through Blanco, through that region and stuff. But up here is where cattle country, where the cattle were driven through here. This is where the West begins.
That's right.
As a lot of people say. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's St. Louis. But truthfully, it wasn't. It was a lot of people were coming from Europe, and they were coming straight into Galveston, Texas, a lot of immigrants, and they would get their wagons, they would take all their belongings, and they would start their drive up through the west, and they'd make it to Fort Worth. By the time they got to Fort Worth, this was a crazy place, though.
It was. There was another reason, too, why that expression holds, is in 1876, Fort Worth it beat out Dallas, became the western terminus of the Southern Transcontinental Railroad, the TNP, the Texas and Pacific. So for many years it was the end of the line. And if you were coming out west on the train back then, say from New York or Boston or someplace, you had to get off the train up the street here. And that was the end of the line. And it brought all sorts of characters to Fort Worth: buffalo hunters heading to the plains, prospectors, gold miners, gamblers, gunslingers, criminals, and lots of people. And of course, Galveston, before 1906, the big hurricane, it was the New York of the South. It got devastated, but before that, it was an amazing port of entry, as you say.
They called it actually the Wall Street of the South.
That's right.
They said there was a lot of money there. Everybody lived in mansions, and then a hurricane comes and pretty much wipes it clean.
Wiped it out.
But they were so rich. I want to say they raised the entire city 17 feet.
Yeah.
Is what they did. That's some money.
Yeah. Yeah. So the West begins. That's the motto of Fort Worth. And again, it was because the train stopped here, and you had to get on a horse and go west.
Now wait a minute. The train still does stop here.
Well, yeah, the train still does stop here, but there's all sorts of trains coming through here now.
But you could take a train from the airport.
Oh, yeah.
DFW, right now, folks. If you're flying through here and you got a long layover, you can take the train over here and get some of this Longhaired Jim whiskey and drink it with you.
Yeah, well, from Terminal A at DFW, there's a beautiful new train that comes down here to Fort Worth, and in fact, the station is right outside our back door. You literally walk across the street and you're here. There's also a train that comes directly over from Dallas and parks at the same spot. So if you're in Dallas and you want to do a day trip, come over here, hang out at the distillery, go downtown. We're about 5 minutes from walking from Sundance Square, where we've got hotels all around us, the Omnis across the street, the Sheraton, the Hilton, all these hotels. The convention center is right here as well. So we're kind of like in the middle of everything, and the train, of course, is right at our back door.
I love it. I love it anytime somebody's in a big city like this. Dallas-Fort Worth is a monstrous metroplex. This is a place to visit, a mecca of Texas right here. You can see a lot of history. Just like we did at Hell's Half Acre. Now, who was Longhaired Jim?
Longhaired Jim was the marshal here in the 1880s. His name was actually Timothy Isaiah Courtright, but they called him Longhaired Jim. He had long hair for a while. The reason being is he was previously an Army Indian scout during the Indian Wars, and the scouts all wore their hair long. I think mainly to taunt the Indians. I'm not sure if that was exactly correct. But he later became a performer in the Buffalo Bill Wild West show. His wife was a sharpshooter. He was a sharpshooter, a quick draw artist, and they traveled all over the place with the show. She shot with Annie Oakley. She was really good, and he was really fast. They moved here. He became marshal in the mid-'80s, 1880s, and he was just as sketchy as the neighborhood. He was a drinker, a gambler, and a gunfighter. His buddies were Doc Holliday, Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp. They were all here from time to time hanging out with Longhaired Jim. Fort Worth was a really popular stop on the gambling circuit back then. And these guys were all gamblers, drinkers, and gunfighters. Longhaired Jim never became that famous because he got drunk one night, walked down the street to the White Elephant Saloon, encountered a rival gambler who he was shaking down. And it was dark. He was drunk. The gambler was sober. A gunfight ensued, and that was the end of Longhaired Jim. So even though he's one of the fastest guns in the West, we tell people the moral to his story is don't drink and gunfight in the dark. So that was the end of Longhaired Jim.
I always say don't ride a buffalo in the dark. I mean, that's what I say.
Yeah.
I say.
Yeah.
So this right here, what's the mash bill on this again?
75% white and yellow corn, Texas corn, 21% malted red rye, and 4% barley.
I think the rye in this really stands out.
Yeah.
It's got this pungy, it just sets with me almost like eating some raisin bread for me.
Yeah. I think the malt, the fact that we use a malted rye helps a little bit too. Brings out more of that spiciness and whatnot.
It really stands out beautiful and an exceptional whiskey. listeners, everybody always asks me, what kind of whiskey am I looking for? What's my favorite whiskey? And it's something like this that just, I'm like, man, this is something a little different for me, something a little, something the big brands aren't producing. This is something you're producing.
Yeah.
And it shows me that you're not trying to be like the other brands. You're trying to be Acre Distilling.
Yeah. Yeah. And, we do everything by hand. There's no automation here. Our head distiller, J.B. Flowers, who used to be my head brewer when I was involved with the brewery here, Rar & Sons, he is just really, really into it, so to speak. And he's pretty fastidious.
Well, I love it. Well, how did Acre Distilling start? How did you guys get your start? You're not distillers. You just like you just said, he was a brewer, but you're a combination of brewers. Is that correct?
That's right. Well, first of all, I didn't have a passion for brewing. I ended up owning the majority of Rar & Sons at one time. Back in 2006, I walked in there. They were 2 years old, and they'd run out of money. And I'm a former techie, and I retired, and I was a lucky techie. And I ended up buying half the brewery and investing more and running it. I hired JB at the time because the existing brewer was overwhelmed. And he came in, he was a home brewer, so that was a big risk. But the first beer he brewed on the big system won a medal at the World Beer Cup, which is the Olympics of brewing. So we carried on, and the brewery grew, and it became successful. I got bought out by the original owners in 2013. And 6 months later, I get a phone call from J.B. Flowers, the head brewer, and he says he'd quit. Him and some of the other guys quit the brewery. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm out of the brewery. I actually made money. He said, well, we want to start a distillery. And I said, well, good luck. Let me know how it goes. Oh, we got to come over and see you. And he came over to my house, and next thing I know, we're looking for a facility. And
they wanted to rattle your piggy bank a little bit.
That's exactly what they did.
Were they big fellas? They picked you up and shook you out?
Well, a little bit. JB's a big guy. No, but what he did was they brought over a little bag of gin that they had been distilling in his basement.
A bag?
Well, a little bag with bottles.
Oh, I was like, man, what are you putting in Ziploc bags?
No, it wasn't. It was in bottles, little bottles. And somehow or other, I don't really remember what triggered me to say yes, but we started looking for a site over by the brewery, but there was nothing available that was for sale. And I didn't want to lease a property and spend a whole bunch of money improving it. And my banker was of that view as well. This property here was abandoned. So we're in the east side of downtown, and we really lucked out because the building was here. It was 100 years old. It had been abandoned for 10 years. It was a kind of a sketchy neighborhood, backside of the convention center. And so I bought it, and we rehabbed it completely. And it's a beautiful building now, and it works perfectly for us. And now Texas A&M, the university, is building their north campus next door. So this whole east side of downtown, near the convention center where all the hotels are coming in, is now growing all around us. So
well, we got to get up and leave because I say hook 'em horns all day long.
Well, my kids went to UT, but I'm not unhappy about Texas A&M building.
Oh, I sure
buildings.
wouldn't be either. Anything to rehab. I can remember in the 80s and early 90s, Dallas-Fort Worth area, especially up here in Fort Worth, this city was dying.
Yeah, downtown especially.
Yeah, and now it's, we just ate barbecue over at Panther, and we're looking around. I saw a hotel or maybe private. It's called the Bottle House, and I was like, look that up and see what that is. I was like, Bottle House, that has to be whiskey.
Yeah,
but
I think it is.
we just I want to see downtowns come back to life because I've always said this, listeners. If your town is all they have is antique stores, funeral homes, and lawyers' offices, your town is dying. So you got the lawyer. The funeral home is where you're going to go be buried at. The lawyer's office is where they're going to divvy up all your stuff. And then the antique store is where they're going to sell all your stuff. So if you're out there, your town like that, look for businesses like Acre Distilling to bring you in and make something happen. Build the American dream. This is the American dream right here.
Yeah.
Were you a whiskey drinker before?
Well, yes, but not like an aficionado in any way. I would drink wine, I would drink beer, I'd drink whiskey, I'd drink gin. But since we've done the distillery over the last 10 years, I have become pretty much a whiskey drinker. Like, I don't drink cocktails. We make, in our tasting room, the bar up there, they make 30 different cocktails, all really excellent craft cocktails with all the various things that we make here. People ask me, what's this cocktail like? And I go, I don't know. I've never had one because I just drink the bourbon and the single malts straight.
Well, I mean, I'm a drinker of everything. I like wine. I like vodka when I go to Mexico. It sounds weird, but I drink tequila. I've won a couple world beer drinking championships in my pool.
Very good.
That's what my wife said. I think you won. I was like, I think I did too. What's this second expression we got right here?
Okay. So that is our Longhaired Jim Single Barrel Select. So every now and again, we find a barrel or two that are really exceptional. They're just unique. They're different. We pull them out, and we will bottle them separately. And we'll bottle them at about 114 proof. So we don't bottle at exactly 125 or whatever it came out of the barrel at, but we just take it down a little bit. And this bottle here is one of the last ones that we currently have.
It better not be. I tell you what, that's pretty damn amazing.
Yeah, it's really good. So I would say, actually, I tell your viewers that if they see that bottle in a liquor store somewhere, that gold sort of coppery label, Longhaired Jim 114 proof, buy it, because most of the liquor stores don't know what it is, and a lot of them have just been sitting on the shelf and nobody knows what it is, especially if you're down in San Antonio or Houston or someplace, because I know that I've seen bottles here on the store shelves and I just buy them because I take them home. It's really they're really good whiskeys.
I like it. Regular Longhaired Jim had a more velvety, softer touch to it, very viscous. This has less of that and a little bit more bite to it. It's definitely drinking as 114 proof. What a beautiful rye bourbon this is. I mean, this is super sexy in a glass, and man, people, why do you do your podcast? This is why I do it right here. So you guys you've got some neat things here going on. I noticed. We went outside in the parking lot, and I parked my pickup under these awnings, and I look up, and I was like, dang, these are solar panels. What are those solar panels? Does those all belong to you guys?
Yeah. So in a previous life, I was a techie. Renewable energy was part of what I did. So when we did the parking lot, had to redo it because it was all potholes and everything. I decided to put structures to cover the cars. And we've got 300 solar panels out there now on those structures. And we generate all of our electricity for this building here, the barrel house, which is next door. And we export about almost an equal amount back to the grid.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And a lot of people don't know here in Texas, the sun can almost bake the paint on your car off of it. I mean, it will terrorize your car, especially up here in this region right here. There's not a lot of humidity in there like we do have where we live at in Southeast Texas. We got 100% humidity there. Your car is just wet the whole time, really. It's sweating itself. But here it's a little bit more drier, not Vegas dry, but it's still a drier temperature and stuff. And those awnings you'll see all over Texas and parking lots at car dealerships now. Protect those vehicles and stuff.
But it kind of makes sense. I'll tell you why. 15 years ago, solar panels were pretty much like flat screen TVs. They were expensive, and they weren't that efficient. Now, of course, your flat screen TVs are huge, and they're $300, and they're 50 times better. Solar panels are pretty much similar technologies and manufacturing processes, and so now they're 10 times cheaper. and way more efficient. So if you're out in the country or something like that, I tell people, especially if you're building a new home, you might want to look at employing them and putting in some batteries, because the weather's not really getting any better. And so if we have a real bad weather thing like we had here in 2021, and the lines go down, the grid goes, you lose power, you're going to have power. Your fridge is going to be on, and you're going to have some lights. So.
Better have one or two things. You better have that backup battery
Or a
power,
generator.
or like we got down in Southeast Texas, they produce just a little bit of fuel down there.
Yeah.
So I got me a big old 30 kW generator.
Right. And that's the other way to go.
It powers everything.
Yeah.
And people, you might be hearing that buzzing noise. What's that buzzing noise? Is your electric?
What it is the power comes into the building and it goes through devices called inverters. So the power comes in as DC, and the inverters convert it to AC power that then goes to our panel. And those buzzing noises are the fans, the cooling fans that cool the inverters.
Okay, listeners, you are still watching a whiskey podcast. This is not Bill Nye, the science guy. This is Tony right here, the whiskey making fool. Yeah, man, this Longhaired Jim is simply amazing. Now, people see this big old fat belly steel back here. It's fat. What kind of steel is this?
Well, it's a pot still. It's 500 gallons, and it is heated by steam. So this is a jacket that goes around the actual kettle, and we pump steam in from the boiler room. Got the big copper hat up there, and then it feeds all of our refining columns toward the back.
Beautiful setup. I don't know. I admire beauty when it comes to metalwork, and the amount of stainless steel that you have in here and copper, to me, for a craft distillery, is simply amazing. Very beautiful, and the engineering of it, and really it's chemical engineering is what it is.
Yeah, it really is, and I'll tell you, if it's okay, a little bit about the thing. So when I owned the brewery, I'd be buying used fermentation tanks from all the breweries that were growing really big, and they had to get rid of stuff and get bigger stuff. And I bought some tanks from China and had pretty good luck. But when we did this, I wasn't going to, first of all, some of the really beautiful stuff from Vendome is like super expensive. We found a company up in Missouri called Affordable Distillery Equipment. And they basically sourced all this equipment from different places and designed it to fit our room per our specifications. Built it all up in Missouri, tested it, took it apart, brought it down here, set it all up for us, and trained us on it to a degree, and service it. So in other words, if I have a tank that needs fixing, they'll send the guy down here to fix it. The only thing they've had to fix is the reflux pipe that brings the refining liquids back to the distill. It was too small. So they came down here and they put a bigger pipe on, and away we go. So it worked out really well, and it was relatively affordable compared to what you might have spent.
So you got 4 fermentation tanks, and you can run about 4 barrels a week. If you ran straight out, you could do about 4 barrels a week, which would be about 200 barrels per year, roughly. Yeah,
and we've got another fermentation tank over in the barrel room that we can pull over here that's even bigger. So, we comfortably could do 4 a week.
Now, the other night, I'm watching TV, and I'd already sent you an email and reached out to you, and you guys had already gotten back with me, but in 2 different ways, both on social media and through your website. Which website?
acredistilling.com.
Yeah, you want to check that out, listeners. But I'm watching TV on Monday night. I'm watching Monday Night Football. I'm watching the Cowboys get destroyed. It was hurting my soul. And let's send prayers to the family of the Dallas Cowboys player that lost his life Thursday night. Prayers go out to his family and stuff. But I'm watching Monday Night Football, and a commercial comes on, or they're kind of showing Fort Worth stuff, And lo and behold, there's Acre Distilling pops up on national TV on ESPN. And I'm like, I'm going to that place right there. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of, they contacted us a week before, ESPN did, and said they're going to be filming in places to, get some local color kind of for their shows, for the football game. And I, of course, said, well, yeah, come on, get down here. There was no hesitation. And we worked with them a little bit during that week. We got some art from them, and we made stickers and stuck them on glasses and bottles and stuff. And they came in here on Sunday, last Sunday before Monday Night Football. Great crew of 2 guys, and they filmed all over the place, and they filmed in our barrel room. And lo and behold, I think we had about, 10, 15 seconds of Acre Distilling flashing on the screen, and people are phoning me and texting me. And
Have you had any sales, like a little sales bump from that at all?
It's too early to tell.
Too early to tell.
Yeah.
Now, behind us, we talked a little bit about the Wild Bunch, but we brought up Hell's Half Acre. Now, why is this neighborhood, this region of Fort Worth, Texas, why is this called Hell's Half Acre?
Well, in the early days of Fort Worth, before the Civil War, Fort Worth was a fort, Indian Territory fort, to sort of protect the settlers. After the Civil War, it became a town, and in the late 1860s, 1870s, this neighborhood started developing, and it was actually initially known as Hell's Half Acre. But at the time, there were quite a few religious folk living in town, and they wouldn't say the word hell. It was a bad word. So locally, the neighborhood became known as the Acre, and the Acre became one of the wildest, most out of control, obnoxious, obscene, red light districts of any of the western frontier towns. 2 main reasons. End of the Civil War, big demand for beef in places like New York, Philadelphia, etc. A lot of beef roaming around to the south of us between here and San Antonio. 3 major cattle drive trails merged here in Fort Worth to form the famous Chisholm Trail. And for about 20 years, 1870s, 1880s, Fort Worth was an important rest and feeding stop for the cattle on their way to Abilene, Kansas, where the railhead was. So up until they get to Fort Worth, they're on the move most of the time. They get here, they get a break. So they run them through town. The herds merge here. They go through town. They ford the river behind the courthouse. And back then, there was nothing down there, no stockyards, no Joe T. Garcias. So at any given time, there might have been as many as 100,000 head of cattle resting down there.
Wow.
And maybe 200, 300, 400 cowboys up here in the Acre neighborhood not resting. So that was the first reason it was so wild. Second reason, 1876, Fort Worth became the western terminus of the Southern Transcontinental Railroad, like I mentioned before. So it brought all sorts of characters here. And the neighborhood, the town grew, and by 1920, just before Prohibition happened, this neighborhood it was 18 city blocks of saloons, dance halls, gambling dens, drug dens, brothels, you name it. No churches in this neighborhood.
What about distilleries?
There was a big brewery behind us. It's no longer. It was called Texas Brewing, and it was a pretty big operation. I don't know about distilleries, but there must have been somewhere because, of course, the saloons, whiskey. So I imagine there was, but there certainly was a big brewery there. We know that. 1920 Prohibition comes, and drinking and gambling in this neighborhood's actually leveled. Most of the buildings are, flimsy wooden buildings, and the Army wanted it gone. They built Camp Bowie to retrain recruits at 10 miles up the road, and they wanted this neighborhood gone because they didn't want the recruits anywhere near it. So between the Army and Prohibition, that was the end of the neighborhood. Our building we're sitting in today was built in 1920 on the remnants of the old Acre neighborhood.
And what was this building originally built for?
We're not quite exactly sure. We know that it at one time was a warehouse of some kind. It was a vegetable warehouse maybe. We think it was a transmission repair place in the 1930s. In the 1970s, it became a restaurant. And it was a restaurant for about 25, 30 years. The Keg Keg and Cleaver Restaurant, which is a Vancouver, Canada corporation. And this was a joint venture between the company and a local restaurateur here. And it was very popular for about 25 years. And then I guess the partnership dissolved. The local guy that was running it, he passed away. And they locked the door, shut her up. And I came by 10 years later, opened the doors, turned the lights on to see what it was like, and all the tables were set for dinner.
Really?
It had been they just locked the door.
Is that these tables that are in here right now?
Yeah, these are the original keg tables, not the one that we're sitting at here,
Yeah.
but all the ones upstairs and these guys here. They're the original tables, and of course, the keg, British Columbia, is all about wood. I grew up in British Columbia.
Really?
I grew up in Vancouver, and I was a dishwasher in the very first Keg and Cleaver in Vancouver. I walked in here, turned the lights on, and I went, it's a keg, all right. It was perfect. Every bit of the motif and all that
Were
stuff.
the doors still here?
No, I put these doors in. These are mahogany from Bolivia. They're French doors that we made into kind of windows to separate the main bar area from the distillation spot. The floors, though, if you look over there, they're 1.5-inch tongue and groove southern pine. We found that floor underneath a bunch of paint and a bunch of carpet. And we had to hand scrape it to bring that old traditional floor back. And
Yeah,
it's
if you
beautiful.
drive back down when we leave here on Sunday, when we drive home, we're going to pretty much drive through where those southern pines were cut down at East Texas. And some people are surprised by this, but Texas is a large producing timber region, East Texas, the big piney walls, we call it. And I always like to say it keeps the trash out of Texas.
No, there's
I know somebody's going to get offended by that. But well, some great whiskey on this first half, Tony. I really have enjoyed it. And we're up against our first half. And when we come back, we'll dive into the Wild Bunch and the guys that were part of the Wild Bunch. And then we're going to drink a little bit more whiskey. You guys got some single malt out here.
Yep.
I call that's a Scotch killer here in America now. If you don't know about American single malt, I implore you to look it up. And then look up acredistilling.com and see what they can offer for you if you're coming from Dallas-Fort Worth. This is old Big Chief, and we'll be back after the half. Leaper's Fork Distillery is an artisan distillery working to bring back the history and heritage of a small batch whiskey production to Williamson County. The distillery crafts premium spirits using local ingredients and limestone filtered water to create superior spirits with a signature taste. Yeah, you know I love their wheated bourbon. Leaper's Fork Distillery is characterized primarily as a low-volume, low-impact concept of production. They are excited and honored about bringing back a lost art and industry to a county that always puts its history and heritage at the forefront. Visit them today at leapersforkdistillery.com. Yeah, listeners, you're back for the second half, and I'm at Acre Distilling here in Fort Worth, Texas. Hell's Half Acre. That sounds pretty badass, doesn't it? And what they like to say here is, Lord, make us good, but not right now, because we're about to drink some whiskey, baby. Yes, indeed. And I got Mr. Tony here with me. Tony, what's in this? What's in my first glass?
First glass is our Texas single malt. So basically, 100% Texas barley from up in the panhandle of Texas, malted and milled over at Tex Malt and distilled here. So this guy's, I think, about a 5-year-old. It's aged in used bourbon barrels. So most American single malts are aged in brand new barrels. So they're darker, color, bigger, bolder. The Scotch single malts are typically aged in used barrels. They don't have a lot of white oak, and they've been aging in used wood for a long time. So in a used barrel, the whiskey's going to come out lighter in color, and the flavors are going to be a little more nuanced and delicate. We're kind of looking forward to seeing what this is like in another 5 years. We can leave it in the used barrels much longer than we can the new barrels. So we've kind of decided to go Scottish style as opposed to the old American style. But both are appropriate for the American style.
I love it. It's very, very tasty. Now, It hasn't been that long that the American single malt was actually recognized as an official whiskey. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's why, most people were aging in brand new barrels, but they finally got a standard. I think it was about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And part of that is you can age in either brand new wood or used and still be considered officially American single malt.
Wow. I mean, this to me is, like I said before, the Scotch killer, the Irish whiskey killer of America. This is what's going to put those whiskeys out of business, because this is so much more rich, so much more velvety. What's the proof on this right here?
It's 100. I think it's 100 proof.
100 proof. How rare is that to get a 100 proof? 100 proof Irish whiskey. It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Or even a 100 proof Scotch. You don't see that a whole lot.
Right.
They're usually at 80, 90 proof. Most Americans like to drink it a little bit more, with a little bit more pep in our step.
Yeah.
A little bit more pride.
Yeah.
And this is even better because it's from Texas grains in a single malt.
Yeah.
I gotta implore you. A lot of people were fearful of these single malts, and I love that a craft distillery is embracing this. How is this like selling in the market for you guys?
The bourbon is our big whiskey seller. The reason we make it, and we actually started out making single malts before we started making bourbon back in the old days, mainly because JB, our distiller, is a sort of grumpy old Scotsman. Well, he wasn't born in Scotland, but he's got his kilt and he's very Scottish and a big beer maker, and so he was a real single malt guy, and that's where that came from. So we sell lots of it, but the bourbon is what really sells.
Wow. Now, these guys behind us, Hell's Half Acre, these guys behind us came and visited Fort Worth in 1900. And two famous guys right here. A couple movies been made about them. You want to tell us about the Wild Bunch?
Sure. So it actually was the 1890s up until 1900. So Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, the Wild Bunch, the Hole in the Wall gang, they were famous train robbers during the 1890s, and they're very famous. And they robbed trains and banks all over the West. But they never robbed trains, banks, or anybody here in Fort Worth. The reason was, when they weren't robbing trains or banks, they spent a lot of their time living across the street from us at the Market Street Hotel, which was on our corner here at 12th and Calhoun, Fort Worth. So they weren't permanent residents, but they spent a lot of time here. Fort Worth was a sketchy neighborhood. Not Fort Worth, the Acre was a sketchy neighborhood. And this is where they hung out, partied, played. They didn't bother anybody here. What made it possible for them to rob trains and banks for as long as they did, about 6 years, law enforcement didn't really know what these guys looked like. They had wanted posters, but all the wanted posters were based on drawings, sketches, recollections. So these guys could fly under the radar here, party, have a good time, run a little low on money, take off to some other state, rob a train, be away for a while. So the trains were the only way of moving money anywhere in the country back then. You couldn't wire funds. It was always cash, and of course the trains were always out in the middle of nowhere. So these guys had a field day. They'd rob a train, $8,000 or $9,000. Today that would be about $200,000 in our money. So a lot of money, 6 years. Railroads hired a private police force called the Pinkertons.
The Pinkertons out of Chicago.
To catch them, yeah, and they were massively huge. They were on their trail for several years, but they never caught them. The significance of our photograph here is that in the late 1800s, photography was new. It was new here, and we had three locals, the Schwartz brothers. They went into business as photographers, and they set up a little studio 6 blocks from here at the corner of Main and 7th on the second floor of a saloon. These guys were in town. They were celebrating something, 1900, all dressed up, really fine clothes. They decide to try out this new photography thing. So they go upstairs in the saloon, and they have this photograph taken of themselves in 1900. They get their photograph. They take it home. They're happy. But photography was new. they didn't know that photographs could be copied. And later, the Schwartz brothers made a copy of this photo. They blew it up a little, they put a frame around it, and they stuck it up in their studio to show off their work. And sometime later, a Pinkerton detective was in town, saw the photograph in the studio, and thought he recognized one of these characters. Probably this guy here, Kid Curry. He knew he was a criminal, and he wondered who the other 4 guys were. So the Pinkertons had a copy of this photo made, and they compared the guys in this photo to every wanted poster, sketch, drawing of everybody they were looking for, and they soon realized this guy here, seated on the right, he looked a lot like what they thought Robert Leroy Parker, Butch Cassidy, looked like. And the guy seated on the left over there, he looked a lot like his partner, the Sundance Kid, Harry Lonebaugh. So now, all the wanted posters got photographs, courtesy of this photo, slapped all over them. Butch and the boys see the new wanted posters with their photographs. They immediately hop a train to New York, steamer to South America, and that's the end of our neighbors, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, except Sundance Square in downtown Fort Worth is named for Harry Lonebaugh, the Sundance Kid, this guy in this photograph here. I tell my grown kids, by the way, this photograph, if it's not the first, it's a very early example of social media screwing up a pretty good operation. So,
well, that is true. I just saw this article about photography and some of the first photography, and Sam Houston had a photo taken of him at the end of his life. And that photo, they hid that photo of him for the longest time. Nobody knew it was taken and stuff, and they finally found it like in an attic or something.
Yeah.
Now it's a pretty famous photo of Sam Houston, and Texas has got that notorious reputation for outlaws, crooks, thieves.
Yeah.
And speaking of thieves, the 3-tier system we have in America, how does that affect craft distilleries like yourself? Do you feel like, I listened to Fred Minnick the other day, and Fred Minnick has said craft whiskey is not, it's not doing as well as it once was. And I was like, I don't think so, because when I go into a liquor store, I see plenty of craft whiskey, especially in Texas, but all across the South. I see craft distilleries in there, and you guys are in Texas alone, but you were telling me before there's a possibility that you might expand to other states in the future. Do you feel like this is a downturn for craft whiskey?
I don't know. I don't think it's a downturn. I just think there's a lot of it, coming on the market. There's a lot of new distilleries being built, and a lot of people are making whiskey. It's just like, the explosion of craft breweries. I think there's a little bit of that. Small distilleries in Texas we operate under a lot of restrictions that the state government places on us, which are basically in place to protect the retailers. The retailers really they'd prefer we went away, because we're allowed to sell retail bottles at the distillery. And if we weren't allowed to do that, we would go away. We wouldn't be able to survive. The big distributors, so we have to sell our products to distributors. They sell our products to the retailers and bars and restaurants. We can't go straight to, we can't self-distribute. Breweries can self-distribute, but we're not allowed to. Wineries can, we're not allowed to. So we're stuck with distributors. And if you're not a big operator with a big marketing budget, they're reluctant to take you on. And if they do take you on, they're not the ones that are pulling it through to the consumer. We have to spend the money and do that. So the other restrictions that we operate under, like, for example, we're only allowed to sell an individual 4 bottles every 30 days. It used to be 2 bottles every 30 days. So we're not allowed to sell bottles on Sunday, because the liquor stores don't want to open on Sunday, and we're tied to their hours. That's a big disappointment for all our Sunday guests. So anyway, so we have to kind of labor under those restrictions and try and figure it out. And I'd say if you're going to get into the distillery business, you need to make sure you're well capitalized, because it takes a while. It's like the old saying, I have a friend that owns a winery, small winery. We joke, how do you make a small fortune in a winery?
Spend a small fortune.
No, how do you make a small fortune? You start with a large fortune.
That is definitely true. They say if you want to make $1 million in the distillery business, you better start with $3 million.
Or at least, I know some guys that are on the other model. So we're the destination model. We want people to come here.
Yeah.
The other guys that are out there trying to fill the shelves and get the case count way up there because their plan is to get bought by, somebody big. Like Balcones got bought by Diageo.
Yeah.
TX got bought by Pernod Picard. But I know a couple of the bigger guys that are still not bought, and they're in for $50 million.
Yeah, it's a scary business.
Yeah.
The reason I brought that up about the 3-tier system, first off, if I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not staying at a Holiday Inn tonight, but staying at Airbnb. Airbnb, if you would like to sponsor the Whiskey Trip podcast, go ahead and reach out to me. But seriously, I'm not a lawyer, but it almost smells to me like a class action lawsuit from craft distilleries across America against state laws that prohibit craft distilleries from selling directly to restaurants. Because if you're already letting breweries do it and wineries do it, it's got to be fair across the board. That's an unfair practice, and that's what a class action lawsuit is all about.
Yeah, well, it's kind of state to state, and in Texas, unfortunately, the Texas Package Store Association, which represents most of the retailers, they have a very, very powerful lobby in Austin, and they basically block everything that they can. They don't want the camel getting its nose under the tent flap and them losing control of everything, and so they're very effective in their lobbying, and the breweries have been able to get self-distribution. The wineries have been able to do anything they want, mainly because they were here early and because they're a big agriculture component. So that was one of the reasons we really got involved with the Texas farmers with our grains, because we want, and of course the tourism industry is a big part too. So we think that we will get a little bit of relief over the, in the next few years. Hopefully we'll be permitted to sell retail bottles on Sunday. Hopefully we'll be permitted to self-distribute because, there's so much product out there. The distributors just don't need a whole bunch of new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is a packed shelf. It's a packed, when you go down to a whiskey aisle, it's slam-packed with all kinds of stuff. But a lot of it's the same juice over and over and over again from 6 different distilleries in the country. And it's people sourcing from there and putting the same stuff in there with a different bullshit story. And
Yep.
Pardon my French, but it's just a different bullshit story in a different bottle of same whiskey. And I hear the same guys, oh my God, I can't believe this right here. Well, if I want to drink that, I love Wild Turkey, but there's other brands out there that's all they're selling is Wild Turkey.
Yeah.
I like Luxco, but all you're drinking is Luxco in that brand. I like MGP, but all you're drinking is MGP over and over and over again. And I want it to be fair across the board for craft distilleries, because I see the businessman, I see the businesswoman that's struggling today, and I like to see as fair too. I came from just plain old Caliche dirt down in the hill country, so I know what it's like to hurt.
Yeah.
And the craft distillers today need everybody's help, and I think, like I said, we're going to see a explosion of lawsuits over this in the near future, especially when you got distributors that are not doing their job, and you have the lobbyists that need to get out of our politics. Not to politic, I said no politics,
right.
But let's talk about some more whiskey. What's in this second glass right here I've been sipping on?
So that's our smoked single malt. So here we took 40% of that Texas barley, and we smoked it over local pecan and peach wood. And we do that up at the malt house, Tex Malt. We help them build that smoker. And then we make this whiskey. So it's got a bit of smoke on the nose, and you're going to get it on the finish. But it's not overly smoky. Like, for example, if you're drinking some of the Scotch whiskeys from Islay, like Ardbeg, Lafroig, they smoke those grains over peat fires.
Mm-hmm.
And those whiskeys are really smoky. This guy, I've found that with our customers that they either really like it or it's not for them. I tend to like it quite a bit personally.
I love this right here, man. This is the perfect whiskey for a campfire. Just sit around there. It's got this sticky sweetness to it. The smoke is there. Just, sit around that fire, tell some lies, talk about the old Sundance, Butch Cassidy, talk about the good old days. Maybe put a little Merle Haggard on and relive life a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's a great sipping whiskey in front of the fire.
So, what does the future of Acre Distilling look like for you guys? How are you changing your model to meet the market demand?
So there are a couple things are going on. First of all, when I bought this property in the building, it was in a pretty dilapidated part of downtown Fort Worth. That's all changed. Texas A&M is building their massive North Texas campus right on my doorstep. The convention center on the other side of the street is redoing itself, and there are all these hotels that have been built around here. So we think in the next 5 years, the nature of our neighborhood is going to completely change. We joke that for the last 10 years, we've been located on the dark side of the moon, the back side of the convention center. Everything from the convention center is oriented on the other side of it towards Sundance Square. So now we're going to have some foot traffic, which is going to be very important for our destination model. But we are starting to think about branching out with new distributors, if possible, here in Texas. And we've been approached by a group in Florida about going into Florida. And there is, we'll probably make some kind of an announcement in the new year. There's a possibility that some younger industry guys who have come into a lot of money recently, they may sign on and become partners here and grow the brand out on the street, which is not really my specialty. That's one of the reasons that we're not really widely distributed. I'm really good at setting things up and getting it going and running the destination, but I'd like to bring a couple of these guys in, and they know how to blow a brand out nationally. And of course, that would probably require a change in model. In other words, if they really want to do it, raise money, probably build another facility if the demand warrants it. Try and keep this facility here, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on this property because of all the development with the university. So we'll see in 10 years whether we'll still be here or not. The university told me that one of the senior people there said, the only thing worth keeping in this neighborhood is the distillery, and they would love to have the distillery as part of the campus. So we'll see what happens.
I got a feeling you'll be checking a lot of fake IDs.
Well, the good news is it's all grad school. It's all
there you go.
Law school, research center, so it's not like having a whole bunch of...
So you have those folks that need to know how to drink whiskey.
That's right. We got all these law students coming in here, and we feed them coffee in the morning and then get them back in the afternoon and
yes, indeed.
And teach them the finer art of closing a deal.
Well, I love it. I love all the history here in Fort Worth, and what a city to come to. If you haven't been to the stockyards and got to watch the beautiful Longhorns come down Main Street there.
That's pretty cool.
If you haven't been to the rodeo, if you haven't been to Billy Bob's, there's so much to do here. There's actually 2 other distilleries in town, Blacklands and Trinity River Distilling. You can see 3 distilleries in one day here. I mean, that's pretty amazing, and eat good food.
Good food, a lot of breweries as well, all around here. And downtown in the stockyards, there are free buses that are just roaming around, hop on, hop off. You can go down the stockyards, come up here, and anyway, it's really a great place to come.
Awesome. I love it. Now, up there, you can see in the camera shot here, there is a bottle of the Longhaired Jim and a cap that Tony and his staff here is graciously going to give to one lucky winner. That's a giveaway for this week. You know how Big Chief's rolling. I think I'm at 35 giveaways, 35 weeks of giveaways, man. It's been amazing, and I hope to keep it going, especially because I got great partners like Longhaired Jim, I was going to say, like Tony here at Acre Distilling. But what we're going to ask you to do for this giveaway right here, you got to be 21 and you got to reside in the United States. But what I want you to do is put an emoji on any of the social media platforms, but mainly Instagram. Put a emoji of a bull. That's the kind of the mascot of Fort Worth, Texas. And then tag 4 friends, and then follow the Whiskey Trip, and then follow Acre Distilling on Instagram and on Facebook. I know Tony would appreciate that, building your brand out and telling people about your whiskey here.
Absolutely.
I'm going to let that go all week long like I usually do. You'll see it in every social media post I do. Please sign up for this giveaway. If you don't enter, you can't win. And share this post and like it. You got to share every post, do a story with it, share it on your own page. I want as many people as possible to know about Acre Distilling, about Tony and his story, and about the Wild Bunch back here. Know the history here in North Texas. Know about this great whiskey, the American Single Malt, the bourbon. It's amazing. Where can we find you guys on social media?
At Acre Distilling, like Instagram and Facebook. It's just at Acre Distilling.
And what's your website again?
acredistilling.com.
And you can find your whiskey in Total Wine and Specs.
Yeah, you can, and some local distillery. If you're down south, like Houston area and that, and go into Total Wines, and they might say, well, we never heard of them. You just tell them to look it up because it's in their system.
But the best place is to come here to the distillery, right?
Well, it really is, in our view, yes. Please come here. We've got plenty of cocktails. We've got great whiskeys. We do more than whiskey. Lots of different flavored vodkas. Our gins have won double gold medals at the World Spirits Competition, silver in London. We make rum. We make all sorts of flavored stuff. And our bartenders are super talented. And we have food here as well. So, yeah, come and play.
I love it. I truly do love it that you're putting out something great for everybody here. What about tours? What time are tours open?
So we do tours and tastings all day Saturday. We do normally 4 of them starting at 1 o'clock. They take an hour, and they go through till 7 o'clock. We do a cocktail class at 7. We do whiskey blending sessions where we teach people how to blend different whiskeys, blend their own whiskey. We do those on Thursday night, and we do those on Sunday. So we do all these different activities to, basically create an experience for people. We're kind of noticing that our happy hour business, we're open at 3 in the afternoon, Tuesday through, is kind of weak. We really rely on Saturday. That's why we wish we could sell bottles on Sunday, because that would help a big deal. But we're kind of seeing a trend in the market where younger people especially are drinking less, and they're a little bit more interested in experiences as opposed to just coming into a bar, sitting down and drinking. So that's what we try and do. We try and provide them with different experiences as well as different products and different types of cocktails. And that's kind of what we're noticing.
Well, maybe you'll see an event up here with old Big Chief. Maybe I'll drive back up here to Dallas and see if we could set up some kind of
we can certainly.
American whiskey through the ages here at Acre Distilling. I'm sure people would love to see something like that.
Oh, they would. Yeah, we've got a lot of followers, and they always come out to the various things that we do.
Well, any last words for our listeners, Tony?
Only that thank you very much, Chief. I mean, this has been a terrific opportunity for us, and my only thing that I would say to people is, as they say, drink responsibly, but on the other hand, also come down, visit us, and we'll take care of you. We've got one last little thing. I think we've got something like 430 Google reviews over the years, and we have a 4.9 rating out of 5.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty hard to maintain. Most of the reviews we have are 5-star reviews, and we don't go out trying to get them, and they just come in slowly, and we really focus here on taking care of the people that come in here.
Well, I know you're going to get 2 more reviews this week from my buddy Kevin Hemingway over there, not Ken, and myself. We'll make sure we give you a Google review for sure. Well, Tony, once again, thank you for opening up your doors. Listeners, you know where you can find old Big Chief on social media. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and now YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button up top. But at the Whiskey Trip, that's where you got to go to check out my content. I'd love for you to do that. If you're listening to me, listen to Mark and Matt from The Bourbon Life on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. If you're listening to them and you listen to me and you like what you hear, I know you love this big old deep voice I got. I know you love it. But leave me that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leave me some comments on there. I'd really appreciate it. Those comments, that 5-star review, helps open up doors to distilleries, gets great guests on my show like Mr. Tony here, and gets great whiskey in my hand like from Acre Distilling here. I'd really appreciate it. Take those comments. Post them over on my Facebook page. I think I'm at 91 reviews right now. I'm so close to getting to my goal of 100 reviews on Facebook. Help me out. Help me grow. Help my community grow. That way I can give back more to the community. Like I say, give back more than you take. This week I'll be over in Houston, Texas at the Citadel for the Houston Whiskey Social. Come over there and see me. I'll be wearing a big old cowboy hat. I'll have my boots on. Don't step on my boots and don't touch my damn hat. That'll get a boot in your chest. But seriously, come over there. Come up to me if you see me. I'm not hard to miss. Drink some whiskey with me. Support a great event over there, the Houston Whiskey Social at the Citadel. I'd really like to see you there. Other than that, just keep listening. Put in for this giveaway. Drink craft whiskey. Craft whiskey is where it's at. Put down the regular old bottle of stuff you've been drinking for 50 years. Pick up a glass of craft whiskey. Make sure you check out my website. Buy my Bourbon Bullshitter t-shirt, my whiskey glass, my hat. Perfect Christmas gifts for your whiskey drinker. I guarantee you, my rocks glass, it's not that little flimsy Glencairn out there. It's a rocks glass for a man with a giant hand like mine. So this is old Big Chief, and thanks for taking this ride with me, baby.